Try to remember the last phone number you actually memorized, not a number saved in your contacts, not a number your phone autofills, a number you could type right now without checking. For many people, that number is strangely old, a parent's number, a childhood friend, a home phone that doesn't even exist anymore. Now, try to remember the last fact you Googled, not the topic, not the website, the actual answer. Maybe you remember the search phrase, maybe you remember the thumbnail, maybe you remember that it was on some page near the top of the results, but the answer itself, maybe not. And that gap tells us something strange about modern memory. Your brain may not be forgetting, it may be outsourcing. For most of human history, memory was survival. You had to remember where food was, which plants were dangerous, which paths led home, who could be trusted, what your parents taught you, what mistakes almost killed you. Memory was not just information, memory was protection. But today, a huge part of what we know does not live inside our heads anymore. It lives in search bars, in notes apps, in cloud storage, in screenshots, in bookmarks, in saved videos we promise ourselves we will watch later. We have built a world where remembering is optional, because searching is instant, and the brain notices. This does not mean Google destroys your brain. That is too simple, and honestly, too dramatic. Your brain is not broken, it is adapting to the tools around it. Humans have always used external memory. We carved symbols into stone, we wrote on paper, we built libraries, we made calendars, we used maps, we asked other people to remember things for us. So, the problem is not that technology helps us remember. That part is ancient. The difference is speed. The difference is availability. The difference is trust. A notebook can be forgotten at home. A library requires effort. A map has to be opened, read and understood. But your phone is always there. It is in your pocket, on your desk, beside your bed, sometimes in your hand before you even know why you picked it up. It answers faster than your own memory can warm up. And slowly, your brain learns a new rule. Why store the answer if the answer is always available? This is where things get interesting. Scientists often talk about something called cognitive offloading. It means using the outside world to reduce the mental work your brain has to do. When you write a grocery list, that is cognitive offloading. When you set a reminder, that is cognitive offloading. When you use GPS instead of remembering the route, that is cognitive offloading. And when you Google a fact instead of trying to recall it, that is cognitive offloading too. In small amounts, this is useful. It saves energy, it reduces stress, it lets your brain focus on other things. But when everything becomes offloaded, something subtle changes. You do not just use the tool, you begin to depend on the tool. And the brain begins to treat the tool as a part of the memory system. There is also a related idea, sometimes called the Google effect. The basic idea is simple. When people believe information will be available later, they may be less likely to remember the information itself. Instead, they remember where to find it. In other words, you do not remember the answer, you remember the path to the answer. The tab, the website, the thumbnail, the search phrase, the app, the folder, the saved post, the comment section. Your memory becomes less like a library and more like a search engine. And this is not always bad. A search engine is powerful, but it is different. A library holds knowledge, a search engine holds access. And access is not the same as understanding. That difference matters, because memory is not just storage. Memory is a process. First, attention tells the brain, this matters. Then, repetition gives the memory weight. Then, retrieval. the act of pulling information back out strengthens the path. That last part is important. Remembering is not just proof that a memory exists. Remembering helps build the memory. Every time you try to recall something, your brain is not simply opening a file. It is rebuilding a connection. It is testing a pathway. It is telling itself, this information may be useful again. But search removes friction. You do not pause. You do not struggle. You do not retrieve. You type, you tap, you scroll. You get the answer. And because the answer arrives so quickly, your brain has less reason to strengthen the memory. The effort disappears. And effort is part of what tells the brain that something matters. Think about directions. There was a time when people remembered roads by landmarks. Turn left after the gas station. Go straight until the church. Cross the bridge. If you passed the old school, you went too far. The road became a story, but GPS changed that. Now you can arrive somewhere without ever forming a real map in your mind. You followed the blue line, you obeyed the voice, you arrived. But if your phone died on the way back, would you know where you are? The tool gets you there, but it may stop you from learning the way. The same thing happens with facts. You can search a question, get the answer, feel satisfied, and move on. But feeling satisfied is not the same as learning. That is why access can be dangerous. Not because information is bad. Information is incredible. The danger is that access can feel like knowledge. When the answer is one search away, you feel informed. But understanding requires more than finding. Understanding requires connection. It requires context. You have probably felt this before. You watch a video and think, that makes sense. Then someone asks you to explain it, and suddenly the idea collapses. You knew it while it was being shown to you, but you did not own it. It was familiar, not understood. This is one of the quiet traps of the internet. It gives us endless recognition, but recognition is easier than recall. Seeing an answer and thinking, I know this, is not the same as being able to produce the answer yourself. And platforms are built around familiarity. Everything is designed to make information feel smooth. But learning is not always smooth. Sometimes learning needs resistance, a pause, a mistake, a moment where your brain reaches for something and does not find it immediately. That moment feels uncomfortable. But it is useful because the struggle is part of the signal. The struggle says, pay attention, this might matter. And that brings us to the bigger question. Are we losing memory? Maybe not in the dramatic way people imagine. But we may be changing what we choose to remember. We may be remembering locations instead of information, processes instead of facts, search phrases instead of answers. We may be training ourselves to ask the device before we ask the mind. And over time, that habit matters. Because your brain adapts to what you repeatedly do. If you repeatedly retrieve information, retrieval gets stronger. If you repeatedly search before trying to remember, searching becomes the habit. The danger is not using Google. The danger is never asking your brain first. Because the brain is efficient, sometimes too efficient. If it learns that every difficult question is immediately handed to a machine, it may stop preparing to answer. Not because it is damaged, because it is saving energy. That is what brains do. They adapt. The question is, are we adapting in the direction we actually want? Now, to be clear, this is not a video about throwing away your phone. That would be ridiculous. External memory can be powerful. No single human memory could hold what the internet gives us access to. In many ways, outsourcing memory is not weakness. It is strategy. The problem is not the tool. The problem is automatic dependence. The moment when you reach for the phone before your own mind even gets a chance. The moment when every tiny uncertainty becomes a search. The moment when boredom, confusion, and curiosity all get replaced by the same reflex. Open the screen, type the question, take the answer, move on, and maybe forget. So here is a simple experiment. For one day, do not stop using Google. Do not delete your apps. Do not throw away your phone. Do not pretend you live in the 1990s. Just pause. Before you search something, wait 10 seconds. Try to retrieve the answer yourself. Even if you fail, the effort matters. That effort tells your brain this is worth keeping. And after you find the answer, do one more thing. Explain it once in your own words. Not perfectly, not like a professor. Just enough to make your brain touch the idea instead of only touching the screen. Because the goal is not to memorize everything. The goal is to stop outsourcing everything automatically. Your phone can store information, but it cannot build understanding for you. It can give you answers, but it cannot decide which answers become part of who you are. That part still belongs to your brain, at least for now. So, the next time you feel the urge to search instantly, pause. Ask your mind first. You may discover that some of what you thought was gone was only waiting to be remembered. For one day, do not stop using Google. Just pause before you use it. You may discover how much of your mind was waiting to be asked. Subscribe for more pure science.